slip away, our lives they could renew. Slipping on a maiden day, the ports were far and few. Climbing up the jungle gym to steal the birds I knew. Then I see a simple man all dressed in red and blue.
I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride.
Morning. It's Monday. The Time Lords are not being kind to us, or at least not to me. Everything's fine. I'm glad that we got a new time. If you're like, why, dude, why you keep being late last couple of days? We have a new time slot. We moved it up an hour. So it's 11 a.m. on the East Coast and 8 a.m. on the West Coast. And then do the math in between. So, yes. And it was daylight savings over the weekend too, so you got an extra hour of sleepy poo, or an extra hour to do whatever you were doing that night. I had an extra hour of sleep, and yeah, I was like, I forgot, and I got up and I was like, man, I'm well rested, and I looked at my phone and I was like, oh shit, it's still early. What the hell? But now we're out of the daylight savings dust cloud, or what is that in Star Trek? The giant clouds out in space where you get in when everything's fucked up. So now we're outside of it. So this is normal ass time that we're in right now. So come March of next year, they turn it back on. You spring forward. Why, God? Why? Why indeed? Another why too. Why did y'all take away Quincy Jones, man? Why'd y'all take Quincy? We're gonna get to the news and the shout outs in a second, but we got a sad note right off the bat. This is from the tribe on the tweeters. We are saddened to hear about the passing of record producer, film producer, and all-around musical genius Quincy Jones, who was born on the south side of Chicago in 1933. He was 91 years old. We offer our deepest condolences to everyone who loved him. So there he is right there. And for some of us Gen Xers who know him best as the guy who got everybody together for We Are the World. It was like this after Grammys little recording thing, and they recorded that song with like a shit ton of people. And back then that was kind of unheard of. You didn't do that shit, with that many fucking stars, but boom, there it was. So R.I.P. King. He was an excellent producer too. And you really hate to see that. But 91, he wasn't a spring chicken. Willie, good to see you, my friend. He says, my 100% election prediction is that the American people will be defeated tomorrow night. Pink pussy hats and red MAGA hats will be at semi-civil war like it's late 2016, early 2017 again. A semi-civil war, yeah, like it's late 2016. Yeah, so we did this poll thing. So who will be declared the loser of Dumpster Fire 2024 with 7 votes so far? Voters, of course, it was a kind of a rhetorical question. Voters 71%, but third party in Harris will be is tied, and nobody thinks Trump is going to be the loser so far. Loser of the race, not just like overall loser human being. Of course, they're all losers there, except for Jill Stein. She's all right, I guess. I don't know. I don't believe in electoral politics. But, it is what it is. It's like the Super Bowl, if you don't like football, but, you like parties, you're going to go to a Super Bowl party. And, some of you will be the people that hang out in the kitchen, or like just hanging out back, smoking weed on the on the little back deck or something like that. There's always the little groups at parties at the Super Bowl things. And it's probably the same thing for voters too. Us non-voters who just think this is all just theater. I am a propaganda scientist. I'm an amateur one, But so now, like, I watch commercials and I watch these political ads and stuff for different reasons. I try to look out for you know, how they are delivering their real message in there. CJK, you don't like football or parties? That's all right. I like small gatherings as long as somebody brought weed. Those are usually pretty chill. Again, Willie, thank you for the 10 spot there, my friend, and for the excellent take there. CBC voter, good to see you. Bella's here. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. Good to see you. Who else up in this mug? Max RJ. And our usual lurkers. Kate, I'm sure Kate will be in here in about 5 minutes. Like, I thought this show started at like the thing. No, Kate, this is a new thing. We're doing new things, baby cakes. All right. So, yeah, and we'll get to our little promo shout outs. There's some shows coming up today and tomorrow that you should be aware of, but we'll do that at the end of the show. But first, let's get to the news of the day. Some classified leaks by detained Netanyahu aide may have undermined hostage operations, among other things. We're trying again with the dark mode with the websites. I'm trying a new plugin, so we're going to see how this goes, and hopefully none of us will be blind ever again in our lifetimes. D, good to see you. Good morning. So there he is with that fucked up hair. Look at that. It's just like like he's got a robot head. An aide to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is among the suspects arrested for an alleged security breach involving classified and sensitive intelligence taken illegally from Israeli Defense Forces, an Israeli judge said yesterday. Oops. Uh-oh. The arrests of 4 suspects, including Netanyahu spokesperson Eli Feldstein, are at the center of what is likely to be the biggest scandal inside the Israeli government since the beginning of the war in Gaza. The alleged leak of top-secret information could have caused significant damage to efforts to free hostages held by Hamas in Gaza, the judge said. The big question is whether Netanyahu knew or was involved in the leaks, which appear to be intended to influence Israeli public opinion to support Netanyahu's hardline position about a deal to release hostages being held by Hamas and establish a ceasefire in Gaza. The episode was under a gag order for several days until a judge released some details this past Friday. So these people are under arrest with the leaky Nefertiti. No, you're the scientist. There we go. This from Al Mayadeen. Netanyahu either incompetent or complicit in leak. So I didn't want to go too much further into that story because it was going to go into this one. See, it's all about segues, people. That's how we do it. Ah, look at this guy. I promise you I will find the man who stole my hat. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid, I would say Lapid, has stated that Netanyahu's actions throughout the recent leak indicate he is either too incompetent to lead during wartime or is complicit in one of the most serious security offenses. Ooh, scandal. Look, and they have the little nationalist pin there too. They got the little Israel pin with the flag thing, the thingies. The Office of Israeli Occupation Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released Friday a statement refuting claims of any staff members being arrested in connection with an ongoing investigation by the Shin Bet, Israeli occupation forces, and the Israeli police into the leak of classified intelligence, Israeli media reported. Lapid declared in a press conference with Benny Gantz immediately after the Rishon LeZion Magistrates Court removed a gag order on naming Eliezer Uh, Eliezer Feldstein, the main suspect in an alleged leak, that Netanyahu's defense is that he has no influence or control over the system he heads. If that's true, he's ineligible. He's not qualified to lead the state of Israel in the most difficult war in its history. Ooh, it sounds like a coup. This case came out of the Prime Minister's office, and the investigation should check if it was not on the Prime Minister's orders. If Netanyahu knew, he is complicit in one of the most serious security offenses in the law book, Lapid stated. Ooh, meow. Kitty likes to scratch. According to the opposition leader, Netanyahu had no clue his aides were stealing documents, operating spies within the IDF, forging documents, exposing intelligence sources, and passing secret documents to foreign newspapers to stop a captive agreement. Then what was he aware of? He needs to be aware of that fucked up hairstyle he's got. Israeli media have indicated that investigators are examining four distinct aspects of the case: the leak of classified documents, granting an advisor without security clearance access to restricted meetings and offices, mishandling of classified materials, and utilizing these documents to sway public opinion regarding a captive's agreement. Desert Mantis, good morning to you. I am not currently camping, but in this case, I will be a camper for you, good sir. Lapid questioned how Netanyahu had no idea the person he was bringing as part of his closest entourage into the cabinet room had not received a security clearance from the Shin Bet. Netanyahu has already indicated that he was ignorant of the Mount Meron crisis or anything related to submarine matters, Lapid continued, referring to two past scandals. Scandalicious. Now he claims he does not know what his office is doing while Israel is in the midst of an existential war. Baby! Baby! This guy's like, I still want my hat back. See, that's a callback. You can get in this hat, though. Fuck you, man. Yeah. So, investigations into that kind of shit. That's who they are over there, man. That's that's that turmoil of craziness. And it all starts at birth with those people over there too. They teach you to hate right out the womb, or out the C-section, whatever you're doing. And from then on, you're just like, and you just want to kill your neighbors. Not a good look. Not a good look. Also, not a good look, of course. Can't have the show without the Israel killing more people. 18 more killed by Israeli attacks in Lebanon as death toll rises to almost 3,000 since October last year. It's like 43,000 overall in like Gaza and West Bank, I think, but 3,000 there in Lebanon. And 13,402 injured in attacks as well. So the death toll from Israel's airstrikes in Lebanon has reached 2,986. That's according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. Yesterday, a statement reported that I told you that. Israeli airstrikes on southern and eastern Lebanon left 18 dead Saturday and injured 83 others, according to the ministry. Israel has escalated its air campaign in Lebanon since late September against what it claims are Hezbollah targets, in an escalation from year-long cross-border warfare between Israel and Hezbollah since the start of Israel's brutal offensive on the Gaza Strip. Israel expanded the conflict by launching an incursion into southern Lebanon on October 1st, and now you know the rest of this story. So, yeah, some more there. And Israeli forces detained 16 Palestinians, brand detainees with numbers in the West Bank. Branded them. Not like, I'm going to take a Sharpie. I mean, it's like cattle shit. and other kind of brandings that people got. Yeah. So Israeli forces detained at least 16 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank late on Friday night, including children and former prisoners, the Wafa news agency reported. Prisoner rights groups, including the Palestinian Authority's Commission for Detainees and Ex-Detainees and the Prisoners Society, released a joint statement which said the arrest took place in Ramallah, Nablus, Tubas, Hebron, and Salfat. Reports added that Israeli forces also conducted a large-scale incursion into the Al-Fawar camp located south of Hebron, carrying out interrogations and vandalizing homes. Meanwhile, multiple reports said Israeli forces arrested Palestinians in the West Bank town of Dura, where people were blindfolded, handcuffed, and branded with a number on their forehead. This comes after the Israeli army on Friday said it carried out a raid in the West Bank, killing several militants in what aid groups have denounced, highlighting the damage caused to civilian infrastructure. Branding. Branding, that kind of shit. That's what these fuckers are doing. You know? Which is not much unlike, getting unwanted numbers tattooed on the inside of your arm. Does that ring a bell? So, I don't really like to do all of these, all these people got killed because, they're about a half a day ahead. So by the time you find out about it, it's usually on like some sort of social media and stuff. But when we do tell you what Israel has, how many they've managed to take out, we have to talk about Hezbollah too, or Hamas, or the Houthis, Triple H. We keep it fair around here. So Hezbollah attacks Israeli base in Haifa. That's quadruple H. So many H's. What do you think? Can't have another H. Get the fuck down, man. Nobody called you. Jesus. With drones. Drones is the thing, man. Can you imagine? Let's for a second. Let's just think back to World War II and the Japanese. If the Japanese could have figured out how to do drone warfare instead of using kamikazes and like people, first off, you'd save on people. And second, they'd still be doing that kamikaze shit, right? Because that's what they're doing now with that shit. They were using like some cheap ass drones or something. Initially, I think Iran was to get Israel to waste all that expensive, what is it, Patriot missile deterrent. They just wasted it on these cheap ass drones and stuff. I think they threw like garbage and stuff at them too. I can't remember. It was something ridiculous like that. Anyway, back to the countdown. So the Lebanese Hezbollah resistance movement presses ahead with its retaliatory operations against Israel, targeting the regime's military positions deep inside the occupied territories. And that's what it seems so far. That's all they've been targeting is military and non-civilian targets. In one of its latest operations, the group targeted the Israeli army's Eliakim training base south of Haifa with a squadron of drones in support of our steadfast Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip and in support of their brave and honorable resistance and in defense of Lebanon and its people. And as part of the Khaybar series of operations, and with the call of "We are at your service, O Nasrallah," at 6 p.m. today, Sunday, November 3rd. Oh, God, come on, guys. Islamic resistance launched an air. Say, okay. All right, I appreciate wordsmiths and great writing and stuff, but, but we could have had, like, in the unresistant right here. We could have taken all this, I know you got to give Lebanon your shout outs and stuff. See, that's all this was just like a shout out thing. All right, so to get to the meat of it, it says they launched an air attack with a squadron of attack drones on the base, which contains training camps belonging to the Northern Command of the Israeli enemy army, south of the occupied city of Haifa, hitting their targets accurately, Hezbollah said in a long-ass statement that could have been easily shortened, guys. Come on. Hezbollah also targeted a group of Israeli forces in the Metula settlement with a guided missile, killing and injuring them. The resistance group targeted the Beit Lid military base east of the occupied city of Netanya with a barrage of missiles. The headquarters of Israel's Western Brigade Command in the Ya'ara barracks was also targeted with a drone. The movement's air defense unit forced an Israeli Hermes 900 drone to leave Lebanon's airspace over the Iqlim al-Tufa region. Hezbollah also carried out several more operations targeting Israeli soldiers in a number of settlements across the occupied territories. And that's some of the Hezbollah people out there with their weapons, right? Craziness. Anybody sneak in here? Everybody good? Orange whip, we good? All right. What time is it? We're moving along. We got a pretty good clip here. We're doing okay. Don't rush me. So like I said, Triple H, their Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, a special guest Haifa wants in. It's like, wait. It's not quadruple H yet. So the Houthis, they said, you know what? We're good people. We'll keep the blockade on Israeli vessels after asset sale reports. Yay. So the Houthis said yesterday they would remain their maritime block. They would maintain their maritime blockade against Israeli vessels in response to intelligence information regarding Israeli shipping companies selling their assets to other companies. That's right, Triple H, baby. I'm amazed, like any of the people like over there in that area who are wrestling fans haven't figured that out yet to try and harness that somehow. The Houthis said they are intensifying their attacks to support Hamas and Hezbollah, Triple H, in their resistance against Israeli actions in the region. Intelligence information confirms that many companies operating in maritime shipping affiliated to the Israeli enemy are working to sell their assets and transfer their properties from shipping and maritime transport ships to other companies, said Yahya Saraya, military spokesperson of the group. Is it? The Houthis will not recognize any changes of ownership and warned against any collaboration with these companies, Saraya said in a televised address. Saraya also said the Houthis will continue imposing their naval blockade on Israel and would target any ships belonging to, linked to, or heading to Israel. He said the blockade would continue until the aggression stops and the siege on the Gaza Strip is lifted and the aggression on Lebanon stops. Good for you, man. I love me some Houthis, man. Those guys are just like, no, come on, Houthis, will you stop all this shit? Come on, man. No, y'all need to stop that shit over there. No, come on, we can't do that yet, man. Come on, Houthis, you need to stop this shit. We gotta get this stuff through here. No, sir. No, we ain't doing it. Ain't gonna do it. Ain't gonna do it. Just like the U.S. Embassy blocks a humanitarian air bridge. King of Segway. Woo woo. U.S. Embassy blocks Iraq-Lebanon humanitarian air bridge. Those things are dangerous too. So when you walk across those, you know, it's you kind of feel like you're Wile E. Coyote when you're walking off the cliff. And you can keep walking off that cliff as long as you don't realize that, you know, you're airborne. That's how that trick works. The U.S. Embassy in Lebanon has blocked the establishment of a humanitarian air bridge between Baghdad and Beirut. Oh, man, is there a triple B? is there another one? Okay. Insisting instead that any humanitarian aid for those displaced by the Israeli war be delivered via Jordan for inspection first. Wink, 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 wink. According to a report by Lebanese daily Al Akbar. Washington reportedly also threatened Lebanon's national airliner, Middle East Airlines, with sanctions if its planes were used to transport those wounded by Israel's terror attack that caused communication devices to explode across the country. Furthermore, the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon receives a daily manifesto. Speaking of manifesto, where's Choosy? How come he's not up in here writing his fucking memoirs? Jesus, Choosy! Shit, Choosy! Wait a minute, and now I said manifesto. The embassy in Lebanon receives a daily manifesto of all passengers traveling through Beirut Airport from the International Air Transport Association. Since the expansion of the U.S.-Israeli war against Lebanon at the start of October, Iraq became one of the top providers of humanitarian aid via land to Lebanon. Nevertheless, Israel's destruction of the main road connecting Lebanon to Syria has hampered those efforts. Thanks, Israel, you pieces of shit. As Washington continues to meddle in Beirut's internal politics, Al Akbar reports that the U.S. Embassy is behind mysterious roadworks in the Bayea area north of Beirut. That's not a B word. It's a D word. The D is silent. Or is it? Who knows? Stop. Get out of my mind. Bulldozers began at the beginning of the aggression to open a passage between the sea road adjacent to the Lebanese Armed Forces Al-Fuad barracks in Bayeh and the sea after some residents became suspicious of these works and asked the army about their nature. The military institution denied any knowledge of the matter, the report states. Lebanon's Ministry of Public Works and Transport has also denied any knowledge about the construction, which the report says is being undertaken at the request of the U.S. Embassy under the implicit approval of the Lebanese Army's command to allegedly prepare for the evacuation of U.S. citizens. The news comes on the heels of an Israeli commando operation that saw about 24 soldiers make land in the northern Lebanese city of Batroun to kidnap a civilian sea captain who Beirut says was receiving his education at a civilian institute. Okay. What was it, like Phoenix, University of Phoenix Online? What was it? Under cover of night and reportedly working alongside the German Navy, the Israeli forces took the man, identified as Imad Amhaz, and escaped back to sea using speedboats. Last month, local media reported that the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon has been in talks with their local allies to ignite an internal uprising that would help Israel achieve its war goals. Woo-wee! What kind of crazy shit's going on there? What kind of crazy shit's going on up here, too? Good morning. Happy Monday to you. Just a reminder, a week from today is Veterans Day. So it'll be November 11th, since today is the 4th. And if math still works, yes. So, and we're going to be devoting Morning Extra that morning to a real tribute to veterans. And what I mean by tribute is like we recognize the fact that they've been serving empire more so than they have been serving America, and a lot of them were tricked into it. But now they're out of the military, and of course they're not being taken care of for what they were, what they went, whatever they sacrificed to go in, right? Do all of them deserve it? Probably not, but, there's a lot of people who are veterans of foreign wars from way back, even as far back as like Korea still, that are being, they're not getting their benefits that they were promised to help keep them alive. So Anyway, so next Monday we're going to be hopefully have someone from the Veterans Administration on to, like, if you're trying to, because a lot of times these people are not, these veterans are not contacted to let them know that they're that they qualify for these benefits. So we'll give you all kinds of phone numbers, websites, and stuff like that. So that's going to be a week from today, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. So that was like our little commercial break here in the middle of the news. Maybe we should do that more, right? Do like some do some news and do some like promos and fake commercials. I got masturbators, but you know, I want to have like more commercials. Anyway, so let's get back to the murders and killings. U.S. bombers arrive in the Middle East as part of new deployment for Israel, because fuck you, America. Why do you need health care? Stop asking. This is from Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com. Be sure, if you're a newbie and you don't know about these guys, check out antiwar.com for a lot of great independent news sources. They do some aggregating themselves. I mean, they have their own stories, but they aggregate a lot of other sources from around the world. And you'll get a lot of Western stories that have a little more truth to it, because it's not it doesn't have a Western bias to it. So it's very refreshing. This is not, though, but the news part of this isn't. So U.S. B-52 bombers, B-52s, I've got me a Chrysler, it's as big as a whale, and it's about to set sail. The B-52s arrived in the Middle East on Saturday as part of a new deployment to defend Israel amid speculation over whether or not Iran will respond to Israel's October 26th attack. B-52 Stratofortress, strategic bombers from Minnow Air Force Base's 5th Bomb Wing arrived in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility. U.S. Central Command wrote on the tweeters. The Pentagon announced it was beefing up its military presence in the region on Friday, saying to the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, not to be confused with Steve Austin, who is the $6 million man. This guy is probably like the $6 trillion man. Ordered the deployment of additional ballistic missile defense destroyers, fighter squadron, and tanker aircraft, and several U.S. Air Force B-52 long-range strike bombers to the region. Tin roof rusted. John Kemper, you old son of a biscuit eater. What's going on? I'm late at work and they need shit. Hey, you know what, man? It's like let your freak flag fly. That's where I'm at. The Pentagon said the purpose of the deployment is the protection of U.S. citizens. Wink, wink. Empire. Think natural resources whenever you see citizens. So protection of natural resources and forces. Oh, see, some of those who work forces want those natural resources. Protection of U.S. nationals resources and forces in the Middle East. The defense of Israel and de-escalation. Right, de-escalation. They threw that on at the end to just go, the de-escalation. How delightful. The U.S. also recently deployed a THAAD missile defense system and about 100 troops to Israel. See, they're just like sneaking them in there. Here's your shit. Oh, you need us to do the shit? Oh, okay, we can do it. Iranian officials have been vowing there will be a response to Israel's attack, which killed 4 Iranian soldiers and 1 civilian. Israel launched the airstrikes on Iran in retaliation for the October 1st Iranian missile barrage that was fired into Israel in response to a string of Israeli escalations and assassinations in the region. You know the thing. Axios has reported that Israeli intelligence suggests Iran is planning to launch a major attack from Iraqi territory, that it could happen before the U.S. presidential election tomorrow. Uh-oh. It can happen anytime, folks. It can happen anytime. He knows it. He always knew. He always knew. However, there's always a however. Is that right? Okay. A report published by the Wall Street Journal yesterday said that Iran didn't want to influence the U.S. election and would likely wait until after. Oh, come on, influence it. It's already a shit show. Who cares? Who cares if you piss in chili that already has battery acid in it? You're already fucked. The journal report, which cited unnamed Arab and Iranian officials, said Iran has told Arab diplomats it's planning a complex response against Israel that would involve more powerful warheads and other weapons not used in its previous attacks on Israeli territory. So they're doing like this next level boss thing. Like the next boss you get at the end of the level has more weapons. One source said Iran would likely target military facilities again, but much more aggressively than last time. I mean, boom, boom, boom is pretty bad already, guys. So I don't know how much more. I mean, unless you're talking about did somebody order the pizza with mushrooms clouds. Another Axios report said the U.S. warned Iran that if it attacked, the U.S. wouldn't be able to restrain Israel. Really? We told the Iranians we won't be able to hold Israel back, and we won't be able to make sure that next attack will be calibrated and targeted as the previous one. I'm just saying, can't make any promises, kids. I mean, last time, they kind of listened to us, everything made sense, but this time, whoa, everybody's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Everybody run for your lives. You're on your own. That's the way they're making this sound. Why don't you work technology when I want you to at the moment I want you to? Robot overlords indeed. All you have to do is just press a button twice and it'll get stuck going beep, 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 beep. How's everybody doing this morning? Do you like the new later hour? This a little more fun for you? Is it more convenient? I did this for you. It's all for you, Damien. Some of y'all know that reference. Love Shack makes me cringe. Rock Lobster is way, way better. Yes, Rock Lobster. I do like Rock Lobster better, Willie. Because that's just a hip beat. That Rock Lobster. Back scratch up. All right, back to the news. Stop it. This is going to be like a 4-hour show. All right, so Iranian press review. Is the honeymoon over? China and Russia criticized over response to Israeli strikes. So Iran is like, hey, China, hey, Russia. What's up, girlfriends? Why aren't you attacking this cunt bitch like me? I told you I don't want to do this alone. You said you were going to help this time. That's what it sounds like. There's Choosy. And the screen will never be empty again. Frustration as China and Russia failed to condemn Israeli attacks. China and Russia's response to, what is this in? Oh, is this in Middle East Eye? Middle East Eye. China and Russia's response to Israel's attacks on Iran has drawn widespread criticism, with many deeming the reactions insufficient and delayed. The Ham Mehan Daily emphasized that given the extensive promotion of strategic relations between Tehran, Moscow, and Beijing in recent years, there was a little bit of an expectation that Russia and China would, officially condemn the attacks on Iran too. We kind of thought, we was boys now, right? I thought you had my back, you fucking piece of shit, fuckface. Hey, Miguel, good to see you. Good morning, sir. The newspaper wrote, 3 days passed after Israeli military attack on sites in 3 Iranian provinces before China's foreign ministry responded. The Russian foreign ministry spokesperson also commented on the attack only hours afterwards In the end, neither Beijing nor Moscow condemned Israel's actions. Oh. See, when you find somebody new and special, they kind of leave. It's like that meme of that guy looking back, going, "Ooh," and the girl's walking back, and then you get the other two, like that other girl, like, "What the hell?" The Daily continued to criticize the stances of these two countries, comparing them to some European nations that have tense relations with Iran. As Western sanctions against Iran have increased in recent years, Tehran has strengthened economic ties with Moscow and Beijing, with one key outcome being the sale of cheap oil to China. However, the expansion of these political ties has consistently faced criticism within Iran, and discontent has intensified following recent direct conflicts between Iran and Israel. A newspaper affiliated with Iran's so-called hardliners has called for direct military action against Israel, arguing such attacks are essential for ensuring regional stability. In an article titled "Killing the Dog," the Agah Daily emphasized the need to intensify military confrontations with Israel, saying attacks on the interests of the Zionist regime worldwide guarantee the security of the region. The report featured images of Israel's political and military leaders alongside suggested targets, including military and economic centers. This is not the first instance of a guy has advocated direct actions against Israel. Last month, the Daily released a list of sites that could potentially be targeted by Hezbollah's missile and drones. The list included food factories, power facilities, technology plants, and chemical production sites. Moreover, the Dimona nuclear plant was identified as a target for Hezbollah, reportedly within range of Iran's Fatah what is it? 110 missiles? Fatah 110 missiles. The former head of the Iranian Parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Commission has criticized the government's handling of extremist groups within the country, saying they are undermining diplomatic efforts. In an op-ed, oh God, Hashmatullah Falahat Pishi argued that the failure to unify domestic political forces has led to setbacks in the nation's foreign policy. Diplomacy is accepted and trusted globally when it reflects a unified and strong voice within a country. Therefore, the key obstacles to diplomacy here are internal, he wrote, adding, Mr. Pezeshkian's government must address these issues first. All the internal shit. Falahat Pishi also mentioned Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi's recent visits to 9 Middle Eastern countries, stressing that the activities of extremist groups in Iran have undermined these diplomatic efforts. This shows the government has not yet resolved its internal challenges with extremist factions. The government must first prove its ability to address foreign policy issues internally. Only then can diplomacy succeed. He concluded. Yeah, so, man, this shit was so long, I don't even remember what it was about. Oh, yeah, so, so not everything's, Guns N' Roses with, the BRICS people. That's all the BRICS people right there. That's Rick. That's Rick of the BRICS, if you didn't know that shit. You're welcome. So they, Israel is supposedly the only democracy in the Middle East, right? All these freedoms, especially for, the LGBTQ plus crowd. Oh, wait, oopsie sauce. Major LGBTQ plus federation suspends Israeli group, drops bid for Tel Aviv event. Uh-oh, you pissed off the gays. You pissed off the gays. And that shall be your undoing. A global LGBTQ plus advocacy group has suspended an Israeli member organization and dropped its bid to hold an upcoming conference in Tel Aviv, following strong calls from Palestinian LGBTQ plus groups to do so. The International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association, also known as ILGA World, I don't know if they call it ILGA World, but I'm calling it ILGA World, announced this week that its board had suspended the membership of the Aguda, which is not a cheese. It's AGUDA, an umbrella organization for Israel's LGBTQ plus community. And before the LGBTQ plus people go after me about these names, look, the Aguda, come on, that's a cheese joke. That it tells itself. ILGA World said the Aguda's proposal to hold the group's next World Conference in Tel Aviv had violated its aims and objectives, and it is now reviewing the Aguda's larger compliance with the ILGA World construction. This sounds like some like fucking Mario Brothers shit, right? Choosy! God damn it, Choosy! I knew he was gonna just go off. There's an ILGA World Constitution. The Aguda's bid had been due to be voted on at ILGA World's conference this month in Cape Town, South Africa. We know that seeing the Tel Aviv bid taken into consideration caused anger and harm to our communities. ILGA World said, "We recognize the historical experience with apartheid and colonialism in South Africa. Even the possibility of voting on such a bid in their home country would have been at odds with the unequivocal solidarity with the Palestinian people." The move follows an open letter by 3 Palestinian LGBTQ plus organizations to ILGA World last month, raising major concerns about how Israeli LGBTQ plus groups have historically helped pinkwash and divert attention from Israel's crimes against Palestinians. In the last year, Israeli LGBTIQ groups publicly supported the genocide against our people, the groups wrote. They led social media campaigns expressing their commitment to taking part in the Israeli killing machines by being proud soldiers. The group said that hosting ILGA World in Tel Aviv, 70 kilometers away from Gaza, as a gay haven and a space for international celebration is not only ignorance or denial, but an international PR campaign to erase their active role in producing and supporting genocide. Choosy Cook? Shit, as much as Choosy cooks, he needs to open up like 2 or 3 franchises. I would go eat some chicken at Choosy's Chicken, though. If as long as you cook it right, Choosy. You're like, I'm a vegan. No, fuck off then. We can't have business. So on Friday, a spokesperson for the 3 Palestinian groups told Middle East Eye that it had been coordinating with a wide coalition of LGBTQ plus groups to put pressure on ILGA World, calling the organization's decision a start. The group said they hope the upcoming conference in Cape Town will be a moment for ILGA World to explore active ways in which it will divest in the near and far future from organizations complicit in genocide and colonialism. Well, one could hope. This achievement is only one part of our demands as we ask ILGA World to proceed with the expulsion of all Israeli LGBT groups immediately and with no further review or a need to collect evidence, the spokesperson said. Ooh, damn. Our actions are not about small wins, but rather an attempt to raise the discourse and clarify the Palestinian queer movement's demands against pinkwashing and the erasure LGBT Israeli groups are complicit with. And then there's a whole bunch more to this, I think. No, actually, there's not that more. Shiri Eisner, an Israeli bisexual activist, told MEE that they and other queer activists against the war in Gaza support ILGA's decision. They noted that Israeli LGBTQ organizations canceled the annual Gay Pride Parade this May, instead holding a Pride rally which celebrated individuals who helped the state of Israel during the war. A transgender reservist who fought in Gaza was awarded a Medal of Pride for their actions in the war. The message of the ceremony was that the queer struggle should be put aside in favor of the genocidal Zionist national unity, said Eisner. The Aguda had said it is deeply disappointed with ILGA World's decision to boycott those who work for LGBTQ. I knew I was going to fuck up one of these. LGBTQ plus rights and strive toward a more just society. The Israeli LGBTQ plus identity embraces both service and contribution to the state as citizens while continuing to fight for the values of democracy and human rights in the society in which we live, the organization said. As a community, we should not bear responsibility for government policy, and we expect the international community to support liberal voices rather than boycott them. The ELGO World Conference is scheduled to begin next Monday. Hoo-wee. So, yeah. And now your favorite place to get all that almond butter that you like, right? You know, and then they have like kind of the really cheap like frozen foods and stuff. It's your buddies. It's Trader Joe's. U.S. grocery giant Trader Joe's urged to drop Israeli products. Oh no, Joe. Joe. Is it going to be Joe versus the Zionists? We'll see. Code Pink, a feminist grassroots organization, you know those people, called on Trader Joe's this week to stop selling Israeli products, accusing the grocery chain of supporting a system that perpetrates suffering by stocking goods from Israel. The call comes amidst growing criticism of Israel's war in Gaza and heightened international boycotts against Israeli businesses. In a petition posted on their website, Code Pink demands that Trader Joe's quote, stop selling Israeli products until Israel respects international law and human rights for Palestinians, unquote. The petition has garnered over 12,000 signatures, with supporters arguing that the grocery chain's commitment to ethical business practices conflicts with its sale of Israeli goods. The organization lists several products they want removed from the Trader Joe's shelves, including Israeli feta cheese, Bamba puffed peanut butter snacks, and Doro frozen garlic cubes. Ooh. Anybody like that? Anybody like getting all feisty for the cheese, the peanut snacks? Protesters affiliated with Code Pink recently filmed a video in one of Trader Joe's stores where they were seen pulling Israeli items off shelves, referring to one section as the genocide aisle. And just a side note, I used to work at Trader Joe's, and trust me, the genocide aisle is one area that is hard as fuck to stock. It's just awful. In the video, the protesters approached the store manager, who acknowledged their concerns, but explained that merchandising decisions are made at the corporate level. Most of them are. I mean, like certain things have to be up. Like if you have like an end cap or something that corporate wants you to have. They can just blame corporate. Going in the individual stores, it's really just, you really need a boycott. Like, go to where they live. Vera, hello. I was waiting for you. We as store managers cannot do anything about this in terms of supplies. Trader Joe's, as a corporation, makes merchandising decisions. Middle East Eye reached out to Trader Joe's for comment, but did not receive a response by the time of publication. Code Pink is also planning to escalate its campaign with a protest at Trader Joe's headquarters, there you go, in Monrovia, California on November 4th, which is today. We'll have to see if they did that or not. Yeah, go to the headquarters. The actual store, the people are just going to be like, dude, what are you doing? Are you crazy? But you go to the headquarters, there you go. Get to the root of a problem. That's how you do it. In an event flyer posted online, the organization called for supporters to join them in delivering their petition to the company, stating, we call on you as a company that values customer input and prides itself on ethical business to join the international campaign to boycott Israeli products. Now, I will say initially, Trader Joe's used to be a really good company. You get like raises like twice a year. They had pretty good benefits and stuff, but then all that shit went out the window. What happened? Anybody else sneak in here? So Code Pink campaign, as most of you know, is part of a broader movement advocating for the BDS against Israel. The group accuses the country of committing genocide against Palestinians. Yeah, you know the thing. Protests at Trader Joe's headquarters expected to draw activists from across the region as the Palestinian-led BDS movement continues to gain traction in response to the ongoing violence in Gaza. And if it affects the bottom line, definitely they'll change their tune. But before then, maybe not so much. The Italians are now getting a little bit of business from Israel in the form of the Mossad. You know, their little spy people. Hang on a second. I got one of these memory foams, and then the memory foam has a brain fart and forgets. So it's like a mostly memory foam thing. I said 18 people on YouTube. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a good time. Hope you're having a good time listening to all this shitty news. Mossad behind the theft of Meloni and other Italian officials' data. Dun, dun, dun. We need the dun, dun, dun thing. There she is there. Not a very good picture of her, by the way. I know, yeah, she's like right-wing kind of, she's probably fascist, but I mean, you know, she has nice eyes. I like eyes. I mean, if you don't have eyes, that's fine too. I'm just saying, I'm an eye guy. Italy has been shaken by a massive espionage scandal in which a private research firm reportedly stole the data of politicians, including Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and Israel's. I love how they put Israel's in quotes. They always put Israel in quotes because it's just like, who is this Israel people? And Israel's Mossad has its fingerprints all over the scandal. Because you know we love scandal. And once I grow my mustache out again, I will be pulling it out and letting it go. For all things scandalicious. A firm comprised of current and former personnel of the security services in Italy is accused of obtaining data to blackmail politicians. Oh, this is like the Italian, the Jeffrey Epstein kind of a person, yeah. The Israeli Mossad was involved in dealings with this company based in Milan. Meloni called the scheme unacceptable and a threat to democracy, while Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto asked for an urgent parliamentary investigation, fearing that state secrets would be compromised and emphasizing the information released was only the tip of the iceberg. Ooh. According to Italian media, the case was a high-level plot involving mafia members, of course, and intelligence officers. It's Italy. I don't care what year it is. There's always going to be some fucking mafia in there. And intelligence officers, as well as foreign espionage services such as the Mossad. Former prominent police officer who runs Equalize, a private business intelligence firm, is the primary suspect in the investigation. He's accused of hacking the servers of government ministries and the police between 2019 and 2024 to create large files containing secrets and sensitive data that he sold or planned to sell to clients. Most of the company's clients are large corporations or legal firms looking to gain an advantage, win a lawsuit, or extort money. Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera Bella reported on Wednesday that investigators intercepted a visit by an investigative company and two unidentified Israelis posing as intelligence agents who wanted to share information about Iranian gas that could be useful to the Italian government. How utterly delicious. The newspaper further stated that the visit was handled by Lorenzo De Marzio, a senior police official working for Italian intelligence. And now I want to talk like it is all the time. And that Israeli operatives had requested assistance in identifying the Russian hackers and Russian money transactions associated with the Wagner Group. According to the Open website, the Israelis insisted that Russian oligarchs cease paying Prigozhin and provided the Italian business secret intelligence on alleged Iranian gas sales in exchange for €1 million. According to the website, the Vatican assisted in the plot against Russia. Of course, yeah, you got to get the Vatican in there too. Turned into a fucking, what is it? Tom Clancy? I don't know. I don't think that's it. I ruined the whole bit. I did it. Wait, what the fuck is this? What is this? I ask you like you're going to tell me. Oh, so yesterday was kind of a awkward anniversary, as it were. It was the 45th anniversary of the 1979 takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. What now? It's 45. So what do you give as gifts on your 45th anniversary of taking over the embassy? So is there a video to this? There is. I knew there was a video. Okay, hold on. Let me get the mind shit together. So this is a little bit of what's going on.
Iranians on Sunday held rallies to mark the 1979 takeover of the United States Embassy in Tehran. In the capital, thousands chanted "Death to America and Israel" at the gate of the former embassy, which has not been used since the hostage crisis. We will ultimately defeat them. This will be seen in future scenes. 45 years ago, radical students stormed the embassy soon after the fall of the US-backed Shah of Iran, the country's last monarch. They held over 50 diplomats hostage for 444 days, a crisis that cemented the decades-long enmity between Tehran and Washington. The commemoration comes a day after Iran's supreme leader threatened the US and Israel with a crushing response following an Israeli attack on Iran a week ago.
All right, so yeah, 45 years ago, 1979. I remember that when I was a kid, that was like every night on the news, it was the hostage crisis, right? And they always had the picture of somebody with like this sack over their head, right? Or some sort of cloth covering their face. And that's, if you don't remember, there was a TV show, I don't know if there still is or not, with Ted Koppel. It was called Nightline. I don't watch any of the late night shit anymore, so if it's still around, kudos. But I did like me some Ted Koppel back in the day, and so that was the news that would come on after your local news at 10 o'clock or whatever your late local news was, and this would come on because ABC didn't like at the time. You had Johnny Carson and the Tonight Show. And then not long after that, you had David Letterman, but you didn't have David Letterman then. I think Letterman came on in 81. This was 79. So CBS didn't have a late night show. And ABC didn't have a late night show. I think that's how that works. And so now they all have late night talk shows, but they would do this report every night after the late local news on the hostage crisis, and then it just evolved into Nightline, and the rest is history. So there you go, more ramblings from yours truly. So back to the humglum and just terrible shit. We're going back to antiwarnews.com or antiwar.com. I think they're anti-war news on the tweeters, I believe. So Zelensky wants NATO to support long-range strikes on North Korean troops inside Russia. They really want those long-range strikes. And now they're like, oh, you got North Korean troops in there. Let's go get them. Meanwhile, Ukrainian has every troop under the sun there as mercenaries. The Ukrainian leader says his Western backers have done nothing in response to the North Korean troop presence in Russia. Look, he worked 10 hours. All he wants is Wingstop. All he wants is Wingstop fucking drive. What did you have to eat today, squid? I ate nothing. Nothing. You've done nothing. Nothing. That's a little inside joke. It's for Secret Show fans. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has again lashed out at his Western backers for not supporting long-range strikes on Russian territory with NATO missiles, which he believes could be used to target North Korean troops inside Russia. He says, yeah, see, we won't go after the Russians, we'll go after the North Korean guys, because they don't look like them. In a Telegram post on Friday night, Zelensky claimed Ukraine knew where North Korean troops were gathered in Russia, or gathering now. Now you'll see every site where Russia is accumulating these soldiers from North Korea on its territory. All their camps, the Ukrainian leader wrote, or garbled. He even says that when he writes. Zelensky continued, I'm not doing that voice again. We could strike preemptively if we had this opportunity to strike at a sufficiently long range, and it depends on the partners. But instead of such necessary long range, America is watching. Britain is watching. Germany is watching. Everyone is just waiting for the North Korean military to start attacking the Ukrainians as well. Why don't you do anything? You said you had things that would help. These voices. That's what it sounds like. Why aren't you helping me? You never loved me, did you, you piece of shit fuckface? Russian President Vladimir Putin has made clear that long-range strikes inside Russian territory would risk nuclear war. And the U.S. appears to have gotten the message, at least for now. Zelensky keeps pushing for the escalation as part of his so-called victory plan, which has received little support from Western governments, except for chuckles, if you call that support. Chuckles under the breath, which are now wide open. That's right, Miguel. See? He's an insider. Why are you yelling at me? What did you have to eat today, squid? That's my favorite part. She calls her a squid. I ate nothing. We should have that song on this show. We don't have like the little like sound bites and kitties and meow meows and stuff like that, but we'll see. If you've been good, we'll see. So he said no dice on the long range strikes, otherwise boom boom, here comes the mushrooms. And the US said, yep, that's pretty much it. Okie dokie, boss. Zelensky keeps pushing for the escalation as part of his so-called plan, which, like we said, was nobody wants that bullshit. Zelensky has been fuming over the lack of support for long-range strikes now that the U.S. has said it believes about 10,000 North Korean troops are in Russia and have moved west to the Kursk Oblast, where they could join the fighting. For their part, Russia and North Korea have not confirmed the deployments. But when asked about the U.S. claims in recent days, officials from both countries have pointed to the new military agreement that Moscow and Pyongyang signed earlier this year, which includes a mutual defense clause. Oh, boy. Oh, you done good. You done did it good this time. North Korean Foreign Minister Cho Sun-hui was in Moscow on Friday and said North Korea would stand with Russia until it wins its war. We will always stand firmly by our Russian comrades until Victory Day. So, and they're on Russian soil, so it's not like they're going into Ukraine. So why they're like, well, they have people. Why can't we have people too with long-range missiles and the shits? Why can't we have them shits? Used to say hi to Willie several times in the past. He seemed to never notice. Who, Willie Bragg? Willie Bragg's like A-list. I remember when he was such a young kid. We used to play stickball in the streets. And then he got his own little TV show. And well, that old boy of ours, he ain't there no more. He's all Willie Bragg now. He's all Willie Bragg. Look at me and my hands up in the air. Oh, Willie Bragg. I like Willie Bragg because I get to do a country accent. I don't get to do it. I can do a really good country accent. I had one for a little while. No, yeah, so he'll notice you, Vera, because I noticed you. And if I noticed you, that means I'm probably going to have to, sign some papers. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so he wants all this shit, and they're like, bitch, we're not doing this shit. So, oh yeah, we can go to the next one then. Why must you do those things? So they're trying to change some things over in Germany. Yeah, I know. When Willie does those, he says he has a drawl sometimes. When he does his impressions, delicioso. Willie doesn't notice me sometimes either, so I have to put on a pout face, so because that's the only thing he that captures him. Precious. So Germany's upstart leftists chip at pro-Ukraine consensus. Okay, so these lefties in Germany are like, this whole, pro-Nazi thing, we kind of need to get away from that. I'm just saying, not saying, just saying. Germany's new leftist populist party aims to exact a high price from mainstream parties for helping them govern 3 eastern states, demanding that their regional officials join calls to stop arming Ukraine. Such concessions risk eroding the pro-Ukraine consensus in Germany, Kiev's second biggest military supporter against Russia's full-scale invasion of its neighbor. They are also fostering tensions in Chancellor Olaf Scholz's 3-way federal coalition in Berlin. Aw, they're tensing up his 3-way, which is already hanging by a thread. Oh, did you call his penis a thread? Launched in January, the Sarah Wagenknecht Alliance, the BSW, is the only party to oppose arming Ukraine besides the far-right AfD, a pariah because other parties refuse to work with it. Aw, poor AfD. The BSW's electoral successes in the states of Brandenburg, Thuringia, and Saxony in September make it a near indispensable partner for mainstream parties seeking to form coalitions there. Sarah Wagenknecht, the popular but divisive leader after whom the Russia-friendly NATO skeptic party is named, wants its regional branches to force any potential partners to sign up to its anti-war positions as the price of a coalition. That led this week to the Brandenburg branch of Scholz's Social Democrats, the SPD, endorsing a joint statement with the BSW, which included the message, "The war will not be ended by further weapons deliveries." The text, which also criticized the possible deployment of U.S. long-range missiles in Germany, sparked outrage in Berlin and disquiet among some within the SPD. Agnezia Brugger, a senior lawmaker for the Greens, junior partner in Scholz's government, accused the SPD of kowtowing. Oh, go on, throwing in some kowtowing to the BSW's cynical and populist course. Anyone who talks about peace but means an end to support for Ukraine does not want real peace, she told Reuters. Such a policy would jeopardize the security of our country and our allies. The SPD mayor of Munich, Dieter Reiter, no, that's not the name, it's Dieter Reiter, which is like Easy Reiter, only it's Dieter Reiter, said the Brandenburg Party's language was unacceptable. While Germany's state governments have no direct influence over foreign policies, the BSW stance comes as some surveys show public opinion already cooling on support for Ukraine at a critical time, with Russia making battlefield advances and U.S. policy on Ukraine dependent on the November 5th U.S. election. That's right. BSW's maneuvers are also strengthening the SPD's traditionally Russophile left flank, said Stefan Marschall, political scientist at the University of Dusseldorf. The SPD last month appointed as General Secretary leftist Matthias Mirsch, who appears to be rehabilitating Gerhard Schroeder, the former chancellor. Oh, yeah, I remember him, who worked for Russian state oil company Gazprom and calls President Vladimir Putin a friend. And there's a whole bunch more there. But, oh, well, let's go ahead and read it, I guess. Blending paternalistic economic policies with an anti-migration stance, the BSW scored double-digit results in all 3 states in September and is on track to win 7 to 9% at the federal election next year, according to polls. That has turned the cerebral Wagenknecht, 55, who started out as a Leninist theoretician for the old East German Communist Party, wow, from a cult figure of marginal political importance to talk show staple, because that's where you want to be. But there are signs that her demands on local party barons are already straining the limits of her authority, in turn testing the young party's cohesion. In Thuringia, regional BSW leader Katja Wolf, Katja, I love that name, a popular former mayor of Eisenach, was content in coalition talks with the SPD and the Conservatives to relegate talks of peace and war to a vaguely worded, non-binding preamble. For Wolf, Katja Wolf, who said she had joined the new party out of alarm at the far-right success in her state, building a stable government was the priority. Wolf earned a stern rebuke from party headquarters, who demanded a more recognizable BSW signature in the agreement. Critics say Wagenknecht would rather forego regional power than dilute her message ahead of the bigger prize of the national election. Wagenknecht has a bad track record of sustaining political movements, and the BSW could yet implode, said political scientist Oliver Lembeck at the University of Bochum. The Rise Up initiative she launched in 2018 petered out within a year. Wagenknecht said at the time that she left the movement due to burnout. She left due to burnout because she worked at the crematorium too, because they were all burned out too. I said that. Why doesn't this work forever? So Zelensky is doing more coke now. He's stressed out about the battlefield setbacks, the U.S. elections, all that good stuff. There he is. I need more cocaine. Was there cocaine in this microphone? No, it's just a microphone. Pessimism is growing in Kiev as Ukrainian officials await the outcome of the U.S. presidential election while grappling with low morale and a shortage of weapons. That's according to the New York Times on Friday. According to the newspaper, U.S. military and intelligence officials believe the war in Ukraine is no longer a stalemate due to Russia's recent gains on the battlefield. The report describes Ukrainian President Zelensky as appearing worn and stressed, with dark circles under his eyes and a whole lot of white shit caked around his nostrils. Concerned not only about setbacks on the battlefield, but also about the upcoming U.S. elections during a meeting with American officials in Kiev last week. Ukrainian troops, the report adds, are contending with low morale, limited reinforcements, and inability to match Russian firepower. An unnamed Ukrainian major stationed near Russia's Kursk region told the New York Times that Ukrainian forces are constantly losing previously occupied positions, with Russian forces enjoying an advantage in manpower and artillery. But I thought they were being sanctioned, right? Aren't their sanctions supposed to be working? Yeah, so and if you're still kind of confused on, well, what's this election have to do with what happens in Ukraine? It's Trump has pretty much said he'll end the war, so that means it's pretty much just going to go back to the way it was, and But if it's Harris, she'll keep the war going somehow. But even then, I don't think she might keep it going for a little while longer. But really, I don't think so. As long as somebody's making money off of it, though, for sure, they'll keep it going. But if Trump comes in there and says, hey, we can make more money doing this over here with China, then they'll be like, Ukraine? They'll be more like, Ukraine, right? Who? This guy. What is that? Ukraine? Is that like a kind of wrench? All right, we got a lot more shit to get to. Sorry for too many funsies today. And here's the, water wet, sky blue. U.S. sending Ukraine new $425 million weapons package. So they're getting a little something. The pentagram. Yeah, I'm going to just call it the pentagram. The pentagram announced Friday that it was sending Ukraine a new weapons package worth $425 million, which include HIMARS, ammunition, air defenses, artillery rounds, and other equipment. The weapons are being provided under the Presidential Drawdown Authority, the PDA, which also is the Public Display of Affection, which allows the Biden administration to ship them straight from U.S. military stockpiles. The package was announced around the same time Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin spoke with his Ukrainian counterpart, Rustem Umerov. You Rustem, I'll clean him off. The new military aid comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging his Western backers to adopt his so-called victory plan, which is bullshit, which is nobody's going to do, which calls for major escalations, including the provision of Tomahawk missiles, but there's no sign the U.S. and NATO are willing to take those steps. Oh, Ukraine, you silly, silly fools. Despite the lack of a path toward a Ukrainian victory, the U.S. continues to pour weapons into the conflict. And there's the list of the shits there, the surface-to-air missiles, Stinger missiles, unmanned aerial systems, more killing shit. Oh, there's some medical equipment, small arms, and everything, Yeah, so they're giving them more shit, yada, yada, yada. You know the rest of the story. Weird shit. I didn't know there was an academy for the Coast Guard. I just thought that if you wanted to be in the Coast Guard, you just went down to the docks and you just kind of signed up there. There's usually an office or something there. But apparently there's like a thing. So, cultural norms at Coast Guard Academy led to abuse of cadets, federal filings allege. Coast Guard. At the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, former cadets were subjected to humiliating and sexualized service traditions and practices and felt unsafe in bedrooms without locks, leaving them vulnerable to assaults in their own beds, according to federal filings. Former cadets detailed the abusive culture at the Connecticut Military Academy with examples of traditions and policies that not only failed to protect women, but some policies enable perpetrators to sexually harass us, as one former cadet wrote in their complaint. The experiences caused some to carry shame throughout their careers, while others left the service entirely and suffered mental and physical ailments related to their trauma, according to 9 administrative complaints filed against the Coast Guard and Department of Homeland Security earlier this week. For decades, the Academy has failed to prioritize cadet safety. Not only has there been a culture where sexual assault is tolerated, but also many of the policies in place have substantially increased the risk of harm. That's according to Christine Dunn, a lawyer representing the victims, said in the statement, to task and purpose. That's where this is coming from. For example, historically, cadets have not been allowed to lock their bedroom doors. As a result, many cadets were sexually assaulted as they slept in their beds. The Academy needs to take a hard look at how it can better protect cadets. The new filings add to allegations from 13 former cadets filed in September by Sanford, Heisler, Sharp, McKnight, and Maritime Legal Solutions, bringing the total to 22 complaints that are part of what the firm said is the first known collective action by sexual violence survivors against a United States service academy. The complaints include 2 men, 19 women, and 1 non-binary individual, and go as far as back as the 1980s, with the most recent one from 2017. The complaints were filed ahead of a formal Federal Tort Claims Act filing, which is a mechanism for bringing legal claims against the government for negligence or wrongful acts by federal employees. The Coast Guard and DHS will have 6 months to investigate the claim, 6 months, and can choose to settle the claim or deny it, which would give lawyers another 6 months to file a lawsuit in court. Speedy court system. One former cadet known as Jane Doe 13 described in their filing that the sexual violence was so pervasive and institutionalized that it seemed like the medical clinic on campus expected students to be sexually assaulted. The cadet said that even though they were not sexually active, the medical officer told them they needed to go on birth control, and alleges that the officer said, "You never know what might happen." Wow. A spokesperson for the academy told Task and Purpose that the service cannot comment on any pending litigation, but said in a statement that they are aware of the claims and will process them in accordance with the FTCA. In July 2023, the Commandant directed an accountability and transparency review, which means devoting resources to improving prevention, victim support, and accountability. Sexual assault and sexual harassment have no place in our service, the spokesperson said. The Coast Guard is unwavering in our commitment to lasting institutional and cultural change, ensuring a safe and respectful environment that is intolerant of harm. Jane Doe 15 said one commanding officer allowed male cadets and enlisted officers to watch porn in public areas on the boat, which prevented women from being able to talk to these spaces. I guess talk in these spaces. Several former students described safety and privacy concerns in regards to their bedrooms on campus. Jane Doe 21 said in her complaint that she was assaulted by a male cadet while asleep in bed because very few rooms at the academy had locks on them, and we were not allowed to use them. The former cadet also said that she and her roommates began sleeping in a sleeping bag with the opening shut tight as a method of self-protection. Jesus Christ. Jane Doe 20 said they had an open door policy which restricted them to keep their doors open except between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Jane Doe 15 said their company cadet executive officer had access keys to every room in the company, including all female cadets, which that officer used to enter the cadets' room and assault them. The former cadet said that what occurred in the room was so traumatic they blacked out and have been unable to retrieve any further memory of that weekend. A spokesperson for the academy told Task and Purpose that all Chase Hall barracks rooms have locks. The academy maintains an open door policy from Monday to Friday from 7:40 a.m. to 4 p.m. and during daily military training from 7 to 8 p.m. At all other times, cadets can close and lock their doors, the spokesperson said, adding that the Coast Guard Academy has spent $8 million to enhance security measures, including electronic locking systems and additional security cameras. The filings allege that when cadets went on out-of-state trips, they were also subjected to little privacy, with Doe 15 explaining that female cadets were forced to share hotel rooms with males because the officer who oversaw expenditures was not ensuring that enough rooms were booked to separate all the cadets into separate rooms based on their gender. And there's more to it there. I have the link to that story after the show in the description there. Yeah. So the Coast Guard Academy. Apparently there's some, we tortured some folks. Somebody tortured some folks. British torture victims file criminal complaint against Emirati Interpol chief. This is a scandalously tasty story. 2 British citizens have filed a criminal complaint against Interpol President Ahmed Nasser al-Raisi as he prepared to open a week-long annual conference in Glasgow. Matthew Hedges and Ali Issa Ahmad, who were detained in the United Arab Emirates in 2018 and 2019 respectively, both say Raisi oversaw the torture they endured during their incarceration in his role as Inspector General in the Ministry of Interior. With the 92nd Interpol General Assembly beginning today, the 2 submitted a criminal complaint with supporting evidence to the Scottish police requesting that Raisi be questioned and arrested while in Glasgow on the basis of the evidence submitted. The Scottish police clearly have an opportunity to act, and that's what we're urging them to do, said Rodney Dixon, QC, who is representing the two. I don't know what QC stands for. Quick cutie. No, that's not what it means. He told Middle East Eye that his clients had highlighted that having Raisi as president of Interpol continued to directly impinge on the credibility and integrity of the organization. Interpol is there for fighting international crime and should certainly start by looking at itself and making sure that its own house is in order. Yes, definitely. Investigate yourselves. That always works. Ahmad, a 28-year-old from Wolverhampton, said he was subjected to racial abuse and torture, including beatings, electrocution, cuts, and burns, after being arrested in the UAE while attending an Asian Cup football match there. It is thought that he was arrested for wearing the football shirt of Qatar, then a rival of the UAE, although the UAE has denied this. At the time of his arrest, Hedges was a doctoral student at Durham University, researching the UAE's security apparatus after the mass Arab anti-government protests of 2011. On May 5, 2018, he was detained and imprisoned for more than 6 months, accused of being a British spy. While incarcerated, Hedges said prison staff forcibly drugged him and interrogated him for up to 15 hours a day, leading him to sign false confessions. He was sentenced to life in prison by an Emirati court in November 2018, but was released 5 days later after a pardon. He still suffers from PTSD as a result of the abuse and requires medication. Hedges told Middle East Eye that Raisi's visit was a further indication of the weakness of Britain's position in the world and its unwillingness to push back against a long-standing ally. It shows where the power lies, where the interests lie. So Raisi coming to Glasgow this week is pure spinelessness, especially if there are criminal complaints open and being investigated. Interpol. And not that band either. What was that? Heaven ain't close in a place like this. Heaven ain't... Isn't that Interpol? You guys don't know. Stop lying to me. So such a horrible story here. Nigerian children could face death penalty for taking part in protests. These are kids. There's been an outcry in Nigeria over the fact that 29 children are among those who face the death sentence for allegedly taking part in protests against the cost of living crisis. We told you about that a few weeks ago, that they were trying to crack down on those protests. The minors aged between 14 and 17 were part of a group of 76 people charged in court on Friday. Anonymous, you been here since start, just on to say hi to all, but busy now, back to Monday. Okay, thanks, Moose. Appreciate you, buddy. Charges against them include treason, destruction of property, public disturbance, and inciting a military coup. 4 of the children collapsed in the courtroom from exhaustion before they could enter a plea. They've reportedly been held by the police since August. Nigerians took to the streets in cities across the country in that month to protest against economic reforms, including the ending of fuel subsidies and the devaluation of the local currency. The changes have led to rampant inflation and inflicted increasing hardships on ordinary people, but President Bola Tinubu has vowed to pursue them, saying they are needed to keep the country afloat. Security forces were accused of using excessive force during the protests, with rights group Amnesty International saying at least 13 people were shot dead in clashes with the police. Lawyers for the children said they were granted bail and the case will come to trial in January. The death sentence was introduced in Nigeria in the 70s, but there have been no executions since 2016. Kids, they're thinking about offing these kids like that. At least 14 people die in a lightning strike on the refugee camp in Uganda. Lightning, y'all. That ain't no joke. At least 14 people, including several children, were killed in a lightning strike in a refugee camp in northern Uganda. That's according to police. Officials say the victims were residents of the Palabek settlement camp, which primarily houses people displaced from South Sudan. They had been attending a prayer service. Oh boy. They've been attending a prayer service in a makeshift metallic structure when the lightning struck on Saturday night. Oh boy, that's not good. The camp is on the Uganda side of the country's border with South Sudan and houses around 80,000 people. Police spokesman Katuma Rosoke said 34 other people were injured and have been admitted to health centers in the area. The victims have not yet been identified. Deadly lightning is commonly reported in Uganda during the wet seasons. That's right. You got metal buildings out there too. Holy shnikes. Poor people. Yeah, lightning is just fucked up, right? So if you're in a storm or something like that, kind of stay away from the windows. It's probably a good idea. I love how our royals around the world are treated, right? You had that lady in Australia who was heckling King Charles, and now you got the Spanish royals. Yes, there's still Spanish royals, people. Crowd hurls mud and insults at Spain royals. Prime Minister on visit to flood-hit town. Here we go. So that's King Felipe, I think it's this guy here with the beard. I didn't know they still had a king. Hundreds of residents of a Valencia suburb badly hit by last week's deadly floods have protested during a visit by Spanish King Felipe, Queen Letizia, and Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who fell in the mud and became Dirty Sanchez, with some demonstrators throwing mud at them, and he became Dirty Sanchez. Chanting, "Murderers, murderers," on Sunday. They vented anger over what has been widely perceived by local residents as tardy alerts from the authorities about the dangers of Tuesday's flooding, and then a late response by the emergency services when disaster struck. Please, the dead are still in the garages. The families are looking for their relatives and friends. Please come. We only asked for help. All we wanted was to be warned, and we would have been saved, yelled one resident. Nuria Chisber, the Reuters news agency, reported. Death to tyrants. Morning, bro, to you too as well, my friend. At one point in the visit to the stricken suburb of Paiporta, Felipe, wearing a simple dark raincoat distinguishable from distance by his height and gray hair, held to his shoulder a man who was crying. Online footage showed his wife, Letizia, crying as she hugged some residents. Her hair and face had traces of mud, and one of her bodyguards had blood on his face, apparently from a hurled object. Bodyguards had opened umbrellas to try to protect the royals. Spanish national broadcaster RTVE reported that the barrage aimed at the royals included a few rocks and other hard objects, and that 2 bodyguards were treated for injuries. The network said the monarchs and officials called off another stop on Sunday at a second hard-hit village, Chiva, about half an hour to the east of Valencia City. The death toll from the country's worst flash floods in modern history edged higher to 217 yesterday, almost all of them occurring in the Valencia region, with more than 60 of them in Paiporta alone. The central government has issued alerts to the population is the responsibility of regional authorities, while the Valencia authorities have said they acted as best they could with the information available to them. Dozens of people were still unaccounted for, while some 3,000 households had no electricity, officials said. Valencia's regional leader, Carlos Mazon, who also visited Paiporta, amid insults from protesters, posted on the tweeters, "I understand the public anger, and of course I will stay to receive it. It is my political and moral obligation. The king's attitude this morning has been exemplary." Thousands of additional troops and police joined the disaster relief effort over the weekend in the largest such peacetime operation in Spain. The floods from October 29th through the 30th engulfed streets and lower floors of buildings, sweeping away cars and pieces of masonry in tides of mud. The tragedy is Europe's worst flood-related disaster in a single country since 1967, when at least 500 people died in Portugal. Yikes. No bueno, man. Lula was president of Brazil. Lula was couldn't fly for a while there. He had a little boo-boo. It was Dirty Sanchez, Miguel. You know that was going to happen. I can't let that pass by this desk without You know, if you're going to got a Sanchez that gets mud thrown at him, of course, I'm going to call him Dirty Sanchez. You silly biscuits. I wish this had whiskey in it. How long will this show go on for? God only knows. We got a few more stories, I think. We got some election stuff coming up, too. So, Lula stable after follow-up tests for October head injury. There he is right there. God. He looks really nice. He looks like he needs one of those pointy hats and just sits on your yard. So, Brazilian President Lula, I'm not saying all that shit, who sustained a head injury last month, underwent imaging tests on Sunday in Brasilia, with the medical report saying his condition has remained stable. Lula can perform his usual activities and his situation will be reassessed in a week, the report issued by the Syrio-Lebanese hospital in Brasilia showed. In late October, Lula fell at home and suffered a small brain hemorrhage and trauma to the back of his head that required stitches, his personal doctor Roberto Calil has said. The Brazilian leader has been working from the presidential palace but canceled international travel, including to the upcoming Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders Forum in Lima and United Nations Summit COP29 in Azerbaijan. Really? No, nobody wants that H. All right, so what's this you be asking? Well, we got some shit going on in the Caribbean right here. So this is Tropical Depression 18L. And where is it? Where did you go? There you are right there. So right now, come on, there we go. So right here, it's, I don't know how far that is from Jamaica, but they got a tropical storm warming there. So you see this path, and it looks where it's going. It's probably going to make a beeline over Havana, and right there, oh no, right here. So by the time it gets here, it's going to be like Saturday, I think. So, you know, we'll have more information as it comes up. So by tomorrow, 6 p.m., it should be about 70 miles per hour. And once it gets to 75, it's considered hurricane strength. So around Wednesday morning should be right here on the western side of Cuba. And it's just going to cross the peninsula here and just head right into the sweet, tasty, warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. So, and looks like you got southern Louisiana here, and then you've got Texas over here and Mississippi. Looks like Mississippi and Louisiana are going to be the centerpiece for that. So I like this. This is zoom.earth. So you can go in there and look at stuff like weather patterns and stuff. It's pretty cool if you're a nerd like that. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma, where the wind blows swiftly down the plains and fucks a lot of shit up, at least 11 injured after tornado spawning thunderstorms left a trail of destruction across parts of Oklahoma. Yeah, look at that shit, man. Tornadoes there. It's all flat. That's the thing, that wind just keeps building up, and there's nothing, there's no mountains, there's nothing to stop it. So that just builds up. Mariana, good to see you. A rain in Spain flows mainly on the plains. I always confuse that with Oklahoma, where the wind blows swiftly down the plains. I don't know. I get confused a lot these days, apparently. Tornadoes and flooding spawned by severe thunderstorms tore through parts of Oklahoma overnight, leaving at least 11 people injured and shredding homes and other properties. Residents in Oklahoma and Texas are bracing for more severe weather yesterday, including possible tornadoes, flash floods, hails, and strong winds. The National Weather Service issued warnings for parts of both states yesterday. The severe weather is expected to move from west to east, and the Weather Service said 11 people were taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. That's good after the storms overnight. Several others suffered minor injuries but declined to seek medical treatment because it's Oklahoma, and they are some tough motherfuckers up there in Oklahoma, son. Shit. Thing. South Carolina execution. Assembly line rolls on with the killing of Richard Moore. I don't know if you heard about this. This is from Common Dreams. Brett Wilkins is the author of this report here. Despite pleas from his sentencing judge, jurors in his trial, and the former head of the State Department of Corrections, South Carolina executed Richard Moore by lethal injection Friday evening after Republican Governor Henry McMaster and the U.S. Supreme Court declined to intervene in the latest in a series of state-sanctioned killings. The Charleston Post and Courier reported that Moore was pronounced dead at 6:24 local time, 21 minutes after the lethal injection was administered. Damn, 21 minutes. Tonight, the state of South Carolina needlessly took the life of Richard Moore, a loving father and grandfather, a loyal friend, and a devoted follower of Christ, the criminal justice reform group Justice 360 said in a statement. He was not a danger to anyone, and the state eliminated a glowing example of reform and rehabilitation. Moore, 59, who was convicted of the 1999 murder of convenience store clerk James Mahoney, was unarmed when he entered the store, argued that he shot Mahoney in self-defense after the clerk pulled out a gun during an argument over correct change. An all-white jury found Moore guilty of murder and armed robbery. Shock, 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 I know. This is definitely part of my life. I wish I could change. I took a life. I took someone's life. I broke the family of the deceased, Moore said in a video accompanying his clemency petition. I pray for the forgiveness of that particular family. Death penalty opponents said Moore's case underscores capital punishment's literal fatal flaws. Literally fatal flaws. Richard Moore's case, like those of so many others on death row, was tainted with racial bias, including as the two prospective black jurors were preemptorily dismissed, resulting in an all-white jury, Amnesty International USA researcher Justin Mazzola said in a statement after the execution. In addition to the racial bias, the crime that Moore committed was not premeditated, which raised serious concerns as to whether it rose to the level for which the death penalty is reserved in U.S. constitutional law. Mazzola added, "It's shameful that racial bias and lack of premeditation were not enough to convince Governor McMaster to grant clemency to Richard Moore. Governor McMaster could have used his clemency power instead of overseeing yet another execution in his state." Moore was initially forced to choose whether he would be killed by electric chair or firing squad. That's still a thing. Following the 2021 passage by South Carolina's Republican-led legislature of a new capital punishment law amid a shortage of the lethal injection drug pentobarbital, Moore chose the firing squad. In 2022, the South Carolina Supreme Court temporarily stayed Moore's execution. He subsequently changed his choice of execution method after the state restocked pentobarbital. Wow. Electric chair or a firing squad. That's crazy. Advocates for Moore pointed to his flawless prison behavior and mentorship to other inmates. Among those urging clemency for Moore were retired Circuit Court Judge Gary Clary, who sentenced Moore to die. Over the years, I have studied the case of each person who resides on death row in South Carolina, Clary wrote to McMaster on Tuesday. Richard Bernard Moore's case is unique, and after years of thought and reflection, I humbly ask that you grant executive clemency to Mr. Moore as an act of grace and mercy, and you know the rest. He said, nope, no dice precious. Yeah, so it's another good article there from Common Dreams. I'll have the link, as I said. But yeah, you know, you're getting more and more of this DNA testing, turning stuff around, because a lot of these people who are getting sentenced is just some real fuckery for them. So, but now you can prove that is fuckery, but still a lot of these places, you know, without the government or the Supreme Court, you know, they're still going to get taken out. So So, like we said, the election for president and all the federal stuff is tomorrow. Plus, there's some state and local races tomorrow, too. But the wealthy in America are saying, peace out, home slice. We're getting out. Shortly before elections, ultra-wealthy Americans fleeing U.S. en masse. Amid a looming and polarizing presidential election, a record number of wealthy Americans are preparing to relocate overseas, citing worries of political upheaval and economic instability regardless of the outcome. Attorneys and consultants describe an extraordinary demand for second passports and long-term residency. Dominic Volek of Henley and Partners stated that rich Americans now account for 20% of their customer base, outnumbering all other nationalities, with ambitions to migrate growing by at least 30% since last year. We've never seen demand like we see now, Dominic Volek said. The firm noted that requests from Americans seeking a second passport or alternative residency has increased by an astounding 504%. Citing civic and social instability, political attacks on democracy, as well as more possibilities and cheaper taxes abroad. That's the winner chicken dinner right there. Wealthy Americans are increasingly choosing more hospitable nations such as Portugal, Malta, Spain, Greece, and Italy. The growing desire to leave the United States began during the COVID-19 outbreak, but the number of Americans hiring Volek for potential migrations abroad has tripled since last year, according to David Lesperance, managing partner for an international tax and immigration agency. For more than 3 decades, Lesperance claimed that his American customers were primarily interested in going abroad for tax reasons. Now, he adds, it's politics and fear of violence, with next week's elections fueling those anxieties. Tomorrow's anxiety. So everybody's running for the hills. They think it's all going to be, let's get ready for civil war. You guys think we're going to have a civil war? Let's see what this little poll is doing here. So with 20 votes, wow, 20 people showed up. Very nice. 80% think the voters will be declared the losers tomorrow, with 10% third party, and notice that a tie for 8% with Harris and Trump. Okay. That's what you say. But don't worry, the National Guard, not the Coast Guard, but the National Guard's getting ready. U.S. National Guard mobilized in key states over election unrest worries. Yeah, because you want people in military outfits after Halloween. In anticipation of possible civil unrest surrounding Tuesday's presidential election in the U.S., the National Guard has been placed on standby in several states, including Washington and Oregon. This comes after at least 3 ballot drop boxes were set on fire, leading to the destruction or damage of hundreds of ballots. We were telling you about that yesterday, Friday, I think. Washington's Governor Jay Inslee addressed the ballot box fires in a Friday news release, confirming the National Guard's readiness. He noted that the southwest region of Washington state has already experienced specific instances of election-related unrest. There are going to be some false flags out there, folks. Be frosty. Although Inslee did not specify the number of troops being deployed, he stated that they would be available to assist law enforcement from Monday to Thursday. The Department of Homeland Security has also issued warnings about ongoing threats to election infrastructure, according to Inslee. Based upon general and specific information and concerns regarding the potential for violence or other unlawful activity related to the 2024 general election, I want to ensure we are fully prepared to respond to any potential additional civil unrest. In Oregon, Governor Tina Kotek announced that the National Guard is on standby. Let's see. Is that just Oregon? Yeah. So Oregon and Washington, those two are getting ready for some nutty good times. And it's coming. Something nutty's going to happen tomorrow. You think? You think something nutty's going to happen? I thought this was interesting. The Muslim vote all of a sudden has become a very attractive thing in this country. And well, Harris and Jill Stein, yes, little Jill Stein, tied for Muslim American vote in the last poll before Election Day. Yep, a large group of Muslim Americans has split its vote evenly between Green Party candidate Jill Stein and Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris, according to the final national poll on Muslim Americans released before the upcoming U.S. presidential election tomorrow. The poll, published on Friday by the Council on American Islamic Relations, that's CARE to you and me, shows Stein and Harris in a statistical tie for the American Muslim vote, with 42% now favoring the Green Party nominee and 41% backing the Democratic candidate. The poll has a 2.5% margin of error. And if it's ever wrong, may God have mercy on our souls. A CARE poll released on August 29th also showed Stein and Harris tied for the Muslim American vote, with 29% of respondents saying they plan to vote for Stein and 28% planning to vote for Harris. Donald Trump is expected to take around 10% of the Muslim American vote, according to Friday's poll, which is relatively unchanged from his support level in August. So he's going to be the Jill Stein of the Muslim vote, right? He's going to mess him up. I don't know. I'm just talking. The increase in those planning to back Harris and Stein appears to come from the amount of previously undecided Muslim American voters, which stood at 16% in August and dropped to just 0.8% in Friday's poll. This final national poll of American Muslim voters confirms that our community members are deeply engaged in the 2024 election, with 95% saying they plan to turn out to vote, CARE said. Yeah, so, it's that Muslim vote you got to worry about there if you're in there getting your election thingies. Is this the last one? Oh no, we got two more left. I'm telling you, this is probably gonna be the longest show we've had. I did not realize how many stories we put in there. Teresa, sweetie, good to see you. I always like to see you and your little cat your little cat picture there. So tomorrow, this is what the polls are looking like for Harris and Trump. Ugh, this makes me feel ill talking about this stuff, but I guess in a way it's news. So they were in North Carolina Saturday, sucking dick for money and votes. It was marked the fourth day in a row that Harris and Trump visited the same state on the same day. Oh, what? And that's where the romance began. Highlighting how votes from a few key states would decide the outcome of the polls. More than 73 million Americans have already cast votes as of Saturday, according to the Election Lab at the University of Florida. The Election Lab, is that where they cook up elections? Harris rallied in the city of Charlotte with rock star John Bon Jovi and R&B singer songwriter Khalid before making a surprise appearance in the highly popular Saturday Night Live show in New York, which is a no-no because you didn't give equal time to the other candidates there, NBC. Meanwhile, Trump made a stop in the state of Virginia before heading to Gastonia. Gastonia sounds like someplace, like we eat like a whole bunch of food and you get gas. You get poopy gas from it, and they call it Gastonia. And Greensboro in North Carolina. So if you give a shit about 538's latest poll tracker, Harris is ahead by a very slim 1 point within the margin of error. Neither of the top two contenders breached 50% mark. Harris's average is 47.9% against Trump's 46.9%. So you got Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin are these swing states that they need to worry about. Trump is ahead of Harris in Nevada, in Georgia, and North Carolina, and Arizona. So yeah, it's going to be a toss-up, y'all. I think it's going to be a toss-up. Trump is unstable. You're unstable too, chick. You drinking all the time. So they were doing like all this campaigning and shit over the weekend and stuff. So it's basically a toss-up. A lot of people that I've talked to think that Trump's going to win. I think Trump's going to win. But who knows what kind of fuckery is going to happen. Yipper! Good to see you, Yipper. What's going on, buddy? But, and of course these things, what it all boils down to is money. So, Harris and Trump campaigns, nearly $1.4 billion raised and over $1.2 billion spent. Could have done a lot of stuff with that in the United States. Campaign to elect Harrison as U.S. president has raised nearly $1 billion, while Trump raised under $400 million, according to open data and calculations by U.S. media based on Federal Election Commission stats. As of mid-October, the FEC reported that nearly all the funds raised have been spent. Harris has $118 million remaining, while Trump has $36.2 million left. Together, the candidates have spent over $1.2 billion in total. Fuck my life. $1.2 billion. $750 for you in New York, though. I'm in North Carolina. Here you go. $750. I hope. I know you can't buy a house, but well, we did something. So yeah, and it just sickening numbers. How she outpaced Trump, bringing in $97.2 million in early October, and enough of that garbage. That is just garbage. The disgusting amount of money that we spend on elections is just nightmarish. So all right, we're done with our news block, motherfuckers. I think, yeah. So propaganda watch. So what do you do when your news outlet starts speaking the truth? Well, you got to take those fuckers out. What the hell? Why are you drinking? I don't understand.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish the same things are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So Israel targets Haaretz after publisher calls Palestinians freedom fighters. What, you didn't call them terrorists? What the hell's wrong with you? The publisher of the Haaretz news outlet has come under fire from the Israeli government after he referred to Palestinian freedom fighters during a speech in London. Amos Shakin was speaking at a conference in London yesterday when he made the comments, which have provoked calls from government ministers to clamp down on the outlet's activities. The Netanyahu government doesn't care about imposing a cruel apartheid regime on the Palestinian population, he told attendees. It dismisses the costs of both sides for defending the settlements while fighting the Palestinian freedom fighters that Israel calls terrorists. Following outcry, Shakin clarified his remarks to indicate he did not consider Hamas to be freedom fighters and emphasized he supported freedom fighters who did not use terrorism. Well, good luck there. They're not going to, use slingshots and, shadow puppets. Nevertheless, Israel's communications minister Shlomo Kari submitted a proposal on Thursday calling for a number of government restrictions on Haaretz as a result of Shakin's comments. Amongst the new proposals issued by Kari's office are that the government shall not enter into new contracts with Haaretz, including individual subscriptions for state employees, nor renew any existing contracts. All current agreements with Haaretz, including personal subscriptions, will be canceled as legally feasible. It also said that the Government Advertising Bureau shall direct Haaretz to cease all advertisements, including statutory notices, regardless of payment status, and seek refunds for any existing payments. No further ads shall be placed in the publication. After that dude just called them freedom fighters. The proposal is identical to one issued by Kari in November 2023 when he accused the outlet of undermining Israel's war efforts in Gaza. Justice Minister Yariv Levin also sent a letter on Thursday to Attorney General Gali Baharov Miar requesting powers to restrict Haaretz's operations. I ask that you urgently provide me with a draft law stipulating that actions by Israeli citizens to promote or encourage international sanctions on Israel, its leaders, security forces, and citizens shall constitute a criminal offense punishable by 10 years in prison, he wrote. I further request that such an offense during wartime be considered an aggravating circumstance, allowing for the penalty to be doubled. Yes, double the penalty. He also cited comments by Shocking in his speech where he called for sanctions to be levied against Israeli government officials. Calls for sanctions against Israel constitute a severe breach of the fundamental duty of loyalty of a citizen toward their country. Such actions promote a course intended to deprive Israel of its right to self-defense, Levin wrote. Haaretz, a left-leaning outlet that has been heavily critical of the Netanyahu government and offers space to pro-Palestinian views, has faced repeated calls for censorship by right-wing politicians. Wow, you don't say. Why would they want to censor that? Because, I mean, it's not like, over 100 BBC staff are accusing the network of pro-Israel bias. See what I did there? More than 100 staff members at the BBC have accused the corporation of giving Israel favorable coverage in its reporting on the war in Gaza. A letter sent on Friday to BBC Director General Tim Davie and Chief Executive Officer Deborah Turnus criticized the broadcaster providing, quote, favorable coverage to Israel, quote, and failing to uphold a, quote, basic journalistic tenet, quote, while holding Israel to account. The signatories included 230 people, among them 100 anonymous BBC employees, as well as media professionals, journalists, actors, and academics. The consequences of inadequate coverage are significant. Every television report, article, and radio interview that has failed to robustly challenge Israeli claims has systematically dehumanized Palestinians, the letter, first reported by The Independent, said. The journalist stressed the BBC's high level of trust as a taxpayer-funded public broadcaster, warning that its Gaza war coverage could undermine its impartiality and put its independence at serious risk. That's right. The signatories urged the BBC to implement editorial commitments, such as reiterating that Israel does not give external journalists access to Gaza, making it clear when there is insufficient evidence to back up Israeli claims, making clear where Israel is the perpetrator in article headlines, including regular historical context predating October 2023, and robustly challenging Israeli government and military representatives in all interviews. Since Israel's war on Gaza began last year, Israeli forces have killed 183 Palestinian journalists, among more than 43,300 killed overall. And this one is fun. You thought Halloween was over, folks. No, it's not over. Terrifying ad shows deadly impact of GOP abortion bans. So I should just play it for you. Wait a minute. Where's this? Let me prep this a little bit. The ad was released as Americans learn of a growing number of women who have died because doctors would not provide standard miscarriage and abortion care under state abortion bans. Okay, so let's go down here.
Dr. Davis, what do I do?
John, she needs an abortion, or she's going to die from the pregnancy.
Sorry, that's not happening.
What are you doing? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we banned abortion. No exceptions.
You can't do this. She's dying.
I won the last election, so it's my decision. But don't worry, you can still have children, just not with her.
Damn. So yeah, that was a thing. So the ad went viral on social media Saturday, the day after ProPublica reported on Nevaeh Crane, an 18-year-old in Texas who died last year at 6 months pregnant when she was diagnosed with sepsis, a fast-moving and potentially deadly condition that can result from infection. Because of Texas's 6-week abortion ban, which threatens doctors with prison time if they terminate a pregnancy before a fetal heartbeat has stopped, Crane made 3 emergency room visits and was required to have multiple ultrasounds as she became increasingly ill. By the time doctors confirmed fetal demise, Crane's organs had begun failing. She died hours later. The investigative outlet also reported on the deaths of another woman in Texas, Gisele Barnica, and 2 women in Georgia, Amber Nicole Thurman and Candy Miller, from state abortion bans since Roe v. Wade was overturned 2 years ago. So I just see these, when you see commercials like that, promos and stuff like that, and I look at it just like, okay, I understand what they were trying to do with this, but I don't know if that's going to actually, that's probably just going to end up pissing off more people, because you're not trying to provide them any kind of literature, any kind of information that corrects their information, right? So I don't know how that works, but I'm glad you got to see it. Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't just me. Well, and so a lot of these abortion bans are getting turned over too in the states, because a lot of these are just unconstitutional. And I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be up to the states to legalize abortion in their states. And if they don't have it in your state, you're just going to have to go to the next state, because they're not going to do it. But the only people that's going to be able to do it is the people. Just like anything else, any kind of change you want in this country, you're going to have to do it yourself, you and your peeps. Government ain't going to do nothing. And apparently, a Saskatchewan, Canada town said, fuck it too. We don't need a mayor. We don't need anybody running the show here. This is finally, the town can't find anyone to run for mayor. So this is from last week, but this is kind of funny. A town in Saskatchewan, Canada, is facing one major hurdle in the run-up to its November municipal election. No one is running for mayor. Officials in Kyle said Mayor George Williams, who was elected back in 2021, is retiring this year, and so far no candidates have come forward to seek the office. An open spot on the town council has also no nominees. Nobody wants to work for the government in Canada, eh? Chief Administrative Officer Amber Dashney, that almost sounds like haberdasher, said 2 rounds of applications have gone out seeking nominations for mayor, but so far no one has signed up. It's a little concerning, but I am confident that someone will step forward, Dashney told CKOM-AM. I believe that's some sort of Canadian radio station there. Dashney said the council will select a deputy mayor to handle the duties of the office if no candidates run for mayor. In the November 13th election, at that meeting, we will decide on a date for a by-election, and we will continue calling a by-election until we fill the mayor spot and the other councilor spot as well, Dashney said. So there you go. It's like, you want to be mayor? No, not me. No, thank you. Thank you. No, we shan't be having that today. Speaking of today, yeah, we ran really long, 2.5 hours, folks. A lot of news though, a lot of news to get to. Let's see who's coming up later here. Look at my little promo thing here. So, Willie Bragg show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. I think he's going to be doing his show. And then tonight at 9 p.m., it's our buddy Dee, Around the World, Dee and Friends. She'll be having her show on YouTube as well. Tomorrow is you're going to probably see a lot of election night shows in this space. I'm not going to get to all those. But tomorrow, I believe Willie and Jimmy are doing Bragland election coverage around 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I just talked to Franco, and he and I and some others are going to be doing a little panel show tomorrow night as well. But ours show is going to be, hey, Yona, good to see you, brother. Peasant Podcast is at 11:30 today. Tonight? Is that tonight? Okay. Good. You're still alive. So yeah, and so we'll be doing it's election night therapy. So and I guess we'll be kind of like keeping an eye on the results. But if you feel like your candidate is not winning and it all is lost and you just want to just like go crazy, we're like, no, we're here to help you. We're here to take those negative energies and we're going to just turn them and twist them, because energy can neither be created nor destroyed, man, but you can totally turn it into something else. So we're going to turn it from a negative, and oh, watch this, we're turning it to a positive. See? That's a plus sign. Yeah, so that's going to be happening tomorrow night as well. So it'll be, I think we're going to be doing that on Franco's channel. So that should be fun. Come hang out with us. That should be a good time. And otherwise, I'll be back with this nonsense Wednesday morning. I know I've been skipping out the last couple weeks. Mostly physical ailments. Still, I had to wrap my head around some pretty sobering stuff too. So, but I managed to do that. Please tell Propaganda that I love him and miss him. He's always, he's not here today, but he's usually in the chats. I don't know where he is today. He's just being silly time. But yeah, so we'll be back here at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. Pacific time for this show. If you're new, kind of watch it, give us a like, share, and subscribe. That would be nice. We got a little CashApp and what else? Patreon and stuff like that down there. If you want to contribute to the show, there's links there. If you ain't got any bread, if you could share out those links, that would help too. Tell your friends outside the bubbles here, outside our little neck of the woods, that there's independent news to be watched and to be read, and you don't have to watch that mainstream media garbage. You can get legitimate news from legitimate sources that aren't bought and paid for by these fucking corporations. So love to each and every one of y'all. Thanks. We did have a pretty decent, stable crowd here for most of the time, so appreciate it. Like I said, check out Willie and D tonight, and Bragland and Franco tomorrow for election night cope, if you will. And yeah, I guess that's going to be it. So I appreciate you. It was a fun day. Didn't have to use my AK. So, oh, you like the new time? Hey, Carlos, good to see you. I unapologetically voted for Jill Stein-Butch Ware. Okay. Thank you for that, and thank you for hanging out here. We will see you again either tomorrow or definitely Wednesday. So peace out. Smell you later. Word to your mom. Tell her I said hi, and I'll be home soon. I always use that joke.
This is City Alpha 5!
Woo!
A damn good song, wasn't it, Dora? You like that song? All right.
Soon.